Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 9 of our 12-week boot camp. I'm super excited to be with you today. Um, some of you that have not met me yet, I know you've met Matt and Jordan. I want to thank Matt and Jordan for the amazing lessons that they've done with the Wallio boot camp. I honestly know from the feedback that we received, the information they shared with most of the attendees was impactful and much appreciated. It's truly an honor to be a part of this great company and to be affiliated with such great people who care so much about helping others and developing a better quality of life for them. As you can see, I'm of the older generation. We're going to be talking about retirement tonight. It's something near and dear to my heart. I am a local financial professional. And as you can see by my slogan down here, I believe financial services and the education that's made available to the most wealthy in our country really should be made available to everyone. And, a sound financial education to where you can live a secure and certain life, knowing that your future is bright, is such a big part of our wellness program. So I hope you've appreciated the first 8 lessons. Let's do a little recap here. We had, to reiterate the structure of the boot camp here at Wallio, we're focused on helping families, everyone develop their financial plan. So in 12 weeks, you're building that plan in 3 major categories. We're focused on today, tomorrow, and then also the future. You've completed 8 sessions, learned how money grows, how to budget, eliminate the money leaks, started getting yourself out of debt, building that emergency fund. And I hope you started thinking, how to protect your income. All the stuff that you worked so hard for, you need to really start be thinking about tomorrow as well. So think about your future. Today, you're starting building that part of the financial plan that's related to your future. And so we're going to talk about retirement income. The lesson is about maximizing your retirement income, and then we're going to talk about protecting it, not only the income, but your family and any kind of financial fallback that you might face in retirement. I'll be your coach throughout the rest of the boot camp. Looking forward to it. Really excited to share some of this information with you guys, which is retirement. This is my buddy over here. It's interesting, the joy, if you have properly planned for retirement, that you can have. You might be asking why we chose this silly picture of this not so old guy with a pink tube jumping on a beach as our opening slide for the retirement topic. Well, there's several reasons for that silly picture. If you Google retirement images, you will see that 80% of the pictures have some kind of blue water and white sand beaches. It's just, retirement is kind of associated with vacationing. And in our minds, even Google knows it now, which is crazy. Secondly, we wanted to show you a man who is not that old, because retirement is not an age. Retirement is an amount of money. You can retire when you decide to, if you have the money and you have properly planned to put it in place that is going to provide you with the income you need for the rest of your life. This guy apparently retired a few years earlier with a full Social Security, rather than being at full Social Security age, and which is what we're going to talk about in a later lesson. But I will show you how to retire a few years earlier if you'd like to do that. I think it's an important topic to discuss because, a lot of people I ask when you want to retire, of course, if they're not happy with their life or their income or their job, they often say tomorrow. Often those particular people, when they say that, that's not the reality. And those are the ones who really need to be in this boot camp. But, with this guy, he's acting silly. He's jumping around wearing a pink inner tube. And why? Because he's happy. According to our research, Americans are the happiest at the age of 18. And, with some proper planning, you can be on a permanent vacation doing crazy things like this earlier than you might think. So let me share with you some of more interesting research data about happiness. As I said, most people start off the happiest when they're 18. And I think that's because you finished basic school and you're about to, launch off onto your life. But do you remember the previous lessons that Matt and Jordan showed us with hypothetical couples, the Joneses and the Smiths? The Joneses started their life on a high note and, were living life to the fullest, but then they were miserable in retirement. They got over here and they're kind of struggling. This is him up here in the upper left-hand corner or right-hand corner. Their happiness is more like this. Obviously, just didn't plan properly. So you look at the Smiths, though, that's a different scenario. The line started high, similar to the Joneses, trended down a little bit, but then it went up through retirement with their happiness line ending up in a really, really happy smile. So looking at the real happiness line supported by the research, everyone starts off their adult life at around age 18. We are very happy. Obviously, we got our whole lives in front of us, and there's plenty of opportunities out there to make things happen. However, from there, our happiness goes down for many obvious reasons. Biggest one is we get ourselves into debt. And all of a sudden, we end up in a dead-end job, just trying to pay that debt off. And then, 20, 30, 40 years goes by, and we've been in a job that we don't like. Or we get into a mortgage, and which is nice to have a mortgage to take care of your home, but it's also another payment that you have to make each month. And if you're in a job that you don't care for, then you're kind of tied to that job in order to maintain that mortgage. Having to unfortunately limit your dreams and working in jobs that don't fulfill you. In other words, the reality really kicks in. The absolute low is around 53. This is when we look back on our lives and we take stock on what we've achieved and did we realize our dreams or did they just slip away? This is a real midlife crisis for most people. Realizing they need to change, we start to focusing on improving our future. From that moment, our happiness line starts to grow again. By the age of 73, right around in here, they achieve the same happiness as of age 18 in the 73rd year. This means they are fully retired, adjusted, and living completely different lives. You see, in general, people are very happy in retirement, and honestly, you can be too. People who plan for their retirement become happier earlier, not at 73 like the average, but at 63 or even earlier. Planners live longer, happier lives than non-planners. So, here is again. Do you want to be this guy, or do you want to be in your 80s, taking orders at a fast food restaurant? Maybe you're standing on a street corner hoping to get picked up for even just day labor type of work. Good luck with that one. Or maybe you get to wear a hairnet and hand out samples in one of our big box stores. I don't think anybody wants to see this side of retirement. If you want to make some extra money and you like being around people and you enjoy it and it's just to supplement your income, that's fine. But if it's a necessity where you're having to do it, that's a huge difference. I would much rather be this guy, spending time with my grandkids, enjoying life, traveling the world, seeing all the different places and creating memories. Because let's face it, guys, memories are the only thing you get to take with you. So the first question in retirement planning starts with, how much money do I need to have in retirement? And you're looking at our simple budgeting formula you are using today to run your household. Income minus bills minus savings equals your guilt-free spendable. You take your income, you put the savings aside, pay off your bills, and the money that's left over is your lifestyle, your gadgets, your clothing, going out to restaurants, maybe a weekend getaway, hobbies, and so on. So how much money will you need for retirement? You need to have enough money to maintain that same lifestyle. Nobody wants to downsize. I mean, they say they're going to downsize, but you know what? They really don't want to. If anything, you're going to have more time on your hands. You're going to want to do more things to keep yourself healthy and active. You'll not have to work anymore in retirement. You will not have to stress about your future. The midlife crisis will be behind you, and you can be as happy as that 18-year-old that we talked about earlier. So why should you have less than your current lifestyle? I honestly think you should. You should have the best lifestyle you can possibly create for yourself. Having the same lifestyle does not mean you need to have the same income, however. So your bills will be smaller than today. Your kids will be grown up and gone. Your cars will be paid off. Maybe your mortgage is paid off too. However, you will have some new bills related to medical treatment and long-term care, which we'll be talking about in lesson 11. Your savings will be smaller too. You will need to save for the future. You will be living into the future that you built for yourself. You have a fully funded emergency fund. Your income will be protected. We talk about retirement income protection in the next lesson, and we go into great depth on that. So it's a really, really good one to tune into. So there's no reason to save, right? Well, I disagree. Bills are lower, savings are lower, so income can be lower as well. But you still could, if you and you can keep the same lifestyle and the same guilt-free spendable cash as you have today. Everyone can get into the same spendable as today in retirement. It's just a numbers game. You just got to know the numbers, guys. Members, people who plan their retirement generally achieve the same lifestyle level. And if you're serious about your future, you absolutely can achieve it. So let's go to the next question. When should I retire? The simple answer to this question: when you have enough money to support the same lifestyle. And as I said, retirement is not about age; it's about money. So looking at U.S. A life expectancies, to know when to retire, you need to calculate how much income you'll need, and basically your life expectancy, just to know how many years that you're going to need income to last. And I would err on the side of caution here. If you think you got 20 years left, maybe plan for 25, maybe plan for 30. There's no crystal ball. You can't really predict how long exactly we're going to live. But there are different scientific calculators based on statistics and data that you can find on the internet that will help you, to kind of determine this with a fairly high degree of accuracy. Search online, look for an expectancy calendar, life expectancy calendar. There's one on the Social Security website, or go on to Wallio. We have one on Wallio. You'd be more than happy to download the app, and then you can calculate your life expectancy with our app as well. Life expectancies vary considerably across the United States. If you look at this map here, the highest life expectancy is in Hawaii. And not surprising, everybody seems to have a really relaxed lifestyle over there. Ironically, in contrast with Mississippi is the lowest. Average life expectancy in the United States is about 79 years. It is almost inevitable you're going to live longer if you don't smoke, generally eat healthy, take care of yourself, and occasionally detox or de-stress, I like to say, with a nice glass of red wine. They're saying now that there's some components to red wine that have a lot to do with longevity. So I'm not promoting drinking, but I would encourage a glass of red wine from time to time. No stress, good for the heart. Don't take my word for the wine literally, but because but the French seem to enjoy it. They seem to be living pretty long, happy lives, and even longer than we are here in the United States. So maybe there's something to that. It could be that a bottle of wine every day, or a shorter work week, or a little bit more sleep, or maybe even smaller food portions. Who knows? Whatever it's going to do to help you add a few more years to your life, I think it's really, really well worth thinking about. And taking care of yourself is super important. You don't want to go out and create a bunch of wealth for yourself and then have to spend it on medical expenses and stuff like that later on in life. I have all the reasons to believe that as you're attending this boot camp and have progressed to this lesson, your life expectancy will be higher than average. You obviously are looking to achieve more financial wellness through our boot camp and eliminate the stress in your life. And we all know that stress can take years off your life. Just look at past presidents. When they go into office, they seem like pretty young guys. When they come out 4 years later, they look like they've aged 20 years. And I can only think that it's just because of the stress of the situation that they're in. We want you guys to live long, happy retirements. Once you've calculated the life expectancy, let's just say it's 85 years old, you will need to calculate the amount of money you will need coming from different sources. It could be savings, Social Security, pensions. We will cover these three sources today. Later, the later you retire, the more money you will get from these sources. The earlier you retire, the less money you're going to receive. In this example, at age 65, you can expect to maybe spend 20 years in retirement. Your savings need to last those 20 years, and you may receive maybe about $5,000 a month in income in this particular scenario. But if you decide to retire earlier, what happens to that money? Let's take a look. So we just retired 5 years earlier. You're gonna spend 25 years in retirement. Your monthly has dropped by $2,000 down to $3,000. We need to figure out a way to bridge this gap. This slide shows the simple concept. The earlier you retire, the less money you will have to keep your current lifestyle, and you will need to have more in savings. It is quite obvious. According to government statistics, the average amount of years people spend in retirement is about 20. So you need to plan for at least 20 years. But like I said, I would always err on the side of caution. And if you need to really start padding your retirement plan, let's focus on 25. I think that's a much smarter way to go, because uh, once again, you want to maintain your lifestyle and enjoy yourself in retirement, and this is definitely the one way you can do it. There is a way to reliably calculate when you can retire and how much money you will have if you just hop on our Wallio app, and we can do that for you. Okay. So this is the proverbial three-legged stool. My generation came up with this because this are basically the three things that we were promised as part of our retirement. The stool, of course, is majority of retirees are trying to sit on it, and it consists of 3 legs. I don't know if I'd want to sit on this stool, to be honest with you guys. The 3 legs are Social Security, company pensions, and then, of course, your own personal savings. Social Security, unfortunately, is only designed to replace about 40% of your income. And realistically, currently, guys, it's so underfunded. I don't see how it's going to last, as long as I'm going to, for sure. So this leg is cracked. Pensions are rapidly disappearing. They were never designed to pay people for long periods of time in retirement. So this leg is cracked as well. So the only leg you really have control over is your personal savings. In this, it is the only pier you can rely on for your retirement to save properly right here. So let's take a look at Social Security, get an idea how it works. To understand why Social Security leg in the stool is kind of broken, let's briefly see how this whole process goes. Each one of us pays about 6.2% of our earnings into Social Security, along with our employer. They pay half, we pay half, maxing things out around $8,500 a year, totaling about 12.4%. You pay half, the employer pays half. If you're interested in how much you actually pay, you can find the information on your annual tax forms. As of today, Social Security Administration has accumulated around $2.9 trillion. They invest this money into treasuries, earning about 2.2%, and then that money is dispersed to the retirees, which right now I think is around 78 billion. Social Security Administration made about $78 billion of interest on the 2.9 trillion. The administration then pays the benefits out to the retirees. It's basically a very simple model to take the money from the workers and the employers and pay it out to the retirees. It's invested through the treasuries and any surplus. As of 2020, guys, Social Security is only replacing, like I said, only about 40% of retirees' income. Cost of things are going up, and I can only see that number going down, unfortunately. The problem with this model is that the benefits being paid out to retirees are more than the taxes collected, and that's unsustainable. That's really kind of like a Ponzi scheme where you're paying out more than you're taking in. The outflow of money is greater than the inflow. People are living longer, as we know, and life expectancy is increasing. So if we do nothing, the 2.9 trillion will probably turn into zero by the year 2035. So with zero in reserves, which is not good, and nothing to invest, Social Security will only be able to pay out to retirees what they have taken in taxes from the workers and businesses. It will not disappear completely or disintegrate by 2035 like many people think, but with no reserves to draw from, it's going to basically turn into a pay-as-you-go type of system. And this will decrease the benefits retirees by 79% of the current levels. This is assuming the government does nothing and leaves everything as it is. Social Security was never designed to replace all of your income, but just to supplement it by about 40%. But the way things are going, guys, by 2035, that will have decreased down to about 30% of your income. And it's really not enough for anyone to live a good life on. So we need to create more ways to bring income from other sources like our pension and the savings, things that we have a little bit more control over. So know your number, very, very important. You can go to the Social Security Administration website, open up your account. Doesn't matter how old you are. If you're paying into the system, you can establish an account. You can get an estimated benefit number from the account at the Social Security website. So if you haven't created one, I highly recommend you do so as soon as possible. Get in there, verify your earnings, and make sure that it doesn't have any mistakes. This is something that you can monitor at least once a year, going to the ssa.gov website. So get in there and take control of the benefits that you're paying in, guys. You deserve to get your money out as well. A few things I want to mention. To be eligible to receive Social Security benefits, you need to be at least 62 years of age or have some form of disability or blindness. You need to have worked a minimum of 10 years to get the minimum possible benefit. The amount you get, of course, will be calculated on your 35 highest years, which are what they consider. This means to get some benefit, you need to work at least 10 years. To get the maximum benefit, you need to work 35 years. And to really maximize it, 35 years with some reasonably high income. Also, I wanted to mention the Social Security benefits are taxed in retirement, are taxed in retirement if you have income from other sources. That's kind of a slap in the face because you paid into it anyway, but it's just another way of the government kicking the can down the road, trying to hold on to the money they've got to make it last as long as possible. If Social Security income is your only source, it will not be taxed though. But if you bring in income from other sources, your Social Security benefit will be taxed. There are ways that you can minimize and avoid this, and I will start to share that information with you in lesson 12. So stick around for that. That's good information. There is one critical thing I want to show you about the Social Security benefits before we move on. Whatever Social Security number is, let's say it's $2,000, okay? And this amount you will be getting, this will be the amount you'll be getting in retirement if you're at the full retirement age of 67. If you decide to retire earlier, at say 64, you will only be getting about 80% of that amount, or $1,600. If you decide to retire even earlier, let's say 62, and you're only going to be getting about 70% of that amount, or $1,400. I retired my wife a few years ago. She retired at 62, and she's been enjoying life, spending time, and this is exactly what she gets. She gets about $1,455 a month for her Social Security. I don't feel like retiring. I love what I do. I love working here with Wally. I love sharing this education. So I'm just going to keep going as long as I can keep going. But I do deserve to get mine eventually. I'll probably wait until 70 where I can max it out. As you can see, on the other hand, if you retire later, like around 70, you're almost at $2,500 a month. You cannot claim your benefits past that, so you might as well take, if you're going to maximize it, pay as much as you can into the plan and then maximize it out at age 70. Unfortunately, the average Social Security benefit today for most retirees is only about $1,500 a month. Tough to live on that kind of money, especially in California where we are. Can you live on $1,500 a month? Think about it just for a second. It would, I think, affect a lot of people's lifestyles and their ability to put, food on the table and a roof over their head. So what percentage of your today's income, would you need, would this replace? Remember, when you retire, this will not be $1,500. It will just be about $1,200 because of all the funding issues. And can you live on $1,200 a month? You absolutely need to have other income streams in retirement. So let's talk about pensions for a second. That was the other broken leg of the stool. Pensions is a retirement plan provided and funded by employers. They've kind of disappeared. They used to be the norm back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but they've disappeared because people are living longer, and pensions were never designed to pay people 20, 25 years in retirement. It was very convenient, though. It was mainly stress-free for employees. However, from the employer perspective, it was an ongoing liability. People living longer, like I said, it affects the company's ability to compete. So switching the company-funded pension to employee-funded retirement, like the 401k, it moves the burden from the company to the employee and saves a significant amount of money for the company. So as you see, the percentage of workers covered by companies' pensions has steadily been, declining over the past years. Today, only 17% of private sector workers have access to any kind of a pension. Number has plummeted significantly since 1975, and it continues to fall. You've got companies like, General Electric froze their pension for 20,000 employees and then moved them to a 401k just last year. Only a few companies out there still provide pensions. ExxonMobil, Coca-Cola, JP Morgan Chase, Johnson & Johnson among a few, but I'm not really sure how long those are going to last as well, because I'm sure they're going to eventually feel the same pains as all these other companies did as part of it. So employees, working for the government may participate in a public pension plan. Public pension plans, similarly to Social Security, are significantly underfunded, unfortunately. Only Washington, Idaho, South Dakota, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and New York report funding levels above 90%. So if you're getting a public pension from one of these 7 states, it may be somehow secure. All other states, including California, are significantly underfunded. 25 states in the union have, or about half of the states, if you were to grade their pension plans, they're going to get a D or an F. That doesn't give people a lot of confidence when they're moving towards retirement, and it makes them question, why am I even paying into my pension plan if this is all that's going to be left there for me? This is, this can be worse than Social Security, to be expected to 2035, which is going to be at the lowest level in that century. So think about it. Even after a decade of economic recovery, after a great recession from 2009, pension funding remains historically low. And as a result, nearly 2/3 of pension funds plan to drop guaranteed benefits to new workers within the next 5 years. So I love this picture. The guy's in there, he's interviewing for a job, and the guy has to tell him, hey, we have a faith-based pension plan. You just have to pray it'll still be there when you retire. I think a lot of people are feeling that same pain about Social Security. So unclaimed pensions, there's surprisingly people have paid for, have gone to work for companies that had pensions in the past and may have forgotten about them. There are about 80,000 people right now that have unclaimed pension benefits that they are owed. And those unclaimed pensions total about $300 million, guys. If you are not sure whether or not you own a pension or were involved in a pension, we recommend you contact your current or former employers and check it out. It's certainly worth a few minutes, a couple of phone calls to see if you might be one of the 80,000 out there that's owed some money. And just so you know, some types of these pensions can reduce or eliminate Social Security payments. It is uncommon, but you should pay attention to this to avoid any kind of surprises. If you have a pension, ask your employer if it affects your Social Security benefits, and make sure you log into Social Security website, like I was saying before, and verify your earnings record. So as we discussed, over the past 30 years, companies have moved pensions to, the 401ks or qualified plans, where they have put the burden of responsibility, taken it from the company and put it back on the employees. Employees, they got an option to save or not to save. Many employees even received salary increases during the shift so that they could put money aside for their retirement. However, many people, rather than saving, they just treated this as an increase in spendable income. And, remember how the Joneses treated their salary increase? Honestly, guys, it's just human nature. We spend all the money we get our hands on, and then we complain that we don't have enough money, right? No wonder that with the time being, if the three-legged stool, retirement income, Social Security, pension, and savings became less accessible for many Americans. And instead, many retirees are increasingly relying on just one source, Social Security. Actually, about 90% of people are relying on Social Security. That's crazy to me, guys. If it's, just remember, between their Social Security benefits and the cost of living, no matter where they live, as a result, many workers are expecting to work past age 70. If you spend all of your money today, you should expect at least a 60% cut in your current lifestyle in retirement. To avoid that, you should save some of this money for your future. This last leg of the three-legged stool is your savings plan. It's probably the most important because you have the most control of it. Don't treat all of your income as spendable income. Save more and balance your entire life so you can get equal spendable income today and also in retirement. Look into several ways ways placing where you can save for your retirement. Let's look into them. Okay. So the 401k offered by your employer, this is the pension killer. It is a savings and investing plan offered by employers to employees. In 1980, benefits consultant Mr. Ted Benna, great guy. He came across the IRS section 401k while researching ways to redesign a more taxally friendly retirement program for a client. He came up with the idea to allow employees to save pre-tax money in their retirement plan while receiving an employer match. Great concept. So how does it work? The employee contributes money into an individual account by signing up for automatic deductions from their paycheck. Taxes aren't paid until the money is withdrawn from the account. Pretty good deal. After retirement, the account balance is entirely in the hands of the employee. 401k contribution limit depends on your current plan, but currently the cap sits at around $19,500 a year. And people over 50 can have a catch up of $6,500 a year. You include that with your potential match from your employer's contribution. There are traditional 401ks, there's Roth 401ks. The main difference is that the Roth, when you invest with after-tax dollars, but the money grows tax-free and you get it back tax-free. In the 401k, you put in pre-tax dollars, it grows without taxes, but then you pay taxes when you go to retire. So let's look at the pros of the 401k. Of course, you're going to lower your taxes. 401k contributions are not counted as income, which could put you into a lower tax bracket. You won't have to pay taxes on the money in your 401k until you withdraw it later on in retirement. It's sheltered from creditors and predators, like we were talking about before. If your finances take a turn for the worse, you won't have to worry about your creditors taking or coming for your 401k. And you get the employer match, which is a nice perk. Many employers offer a match as a way of retaining really, valued employees. Part of that is your savings. So, do you like free money? That's exactly what it is. This is absolutely a great perk, and it's why I feel it's kind of understood by most people. You really should be taking advantage of this. This can easily be over $17,000 in extra tax-deferred pay to a highly compensated employee. Many employers offer to match employee contributions, either dollar for dollar or 50 cents on the dollar, up to a set limit. With a dollar for dollar, you can see in this particular scenario, your employer puts in the same amount as you do, again, up to a certain amount. An example might be dollar for dollar up to 4%. And in this case, you put in 4% of your salary, the employer puts in 4%, or if you put in 2%, they put in 2%. Here's the example of the 401k matching figures or different matching percentages. How much should you contribute? We recommend you put all up to your employer's matching contribution. So match it dollar for dollar. If they're doing dollar for dollar match, put it, they'll take it up to 4% or 6%, put in the 6%. Let them match another 6%. That's where you're maximizing your retirement plan through your 401k, and you're taking advantage of free money, guys. Free money. So, what are the cons? A 401k is a retirement plan, not a savings account. Money placed into the 401k is not easy to access in any kind of an emergency. You have to wait until you're 59 and a half. Unfortunately, is the current age before you can start taking distributions without any kind of penalty. However, the money you take out is still taxed as income. So if you withdraw funds from your 401k before age 59 and a half, then you will pay a 10% early withdrawal penalty and the taxes on all the funds. This adds up, guys. Assuming that you have $250,000 in your 401k, and you want to take a little bit out of it early, after penalties, you will have around $180,000, a loss of $70,000, guys. That's crazy. At the age of 70, you'll be forced by the IRS to start taking distributions from your retirement account. This is called RMDs, or required minimum distributions. They've let you defer the taxes for a long time. They're only going to let you defer them for so long. So at age 70, actually age 70 and a half, you're going to be required to start taking out a certain amount of your retirement funds so that the government can get their share. Many 401k plans charge different fees, like administration fees, internal expense fees, load fees, investment advisory fees. I hate to say it, guys, these can often go overlooked and can be an enormous drag on your long-term growth and the growth of your 401k account. Some employers allow participants to borrow against their 401k retirement savings plans. However, the borrower must have after-tax dollars to pay back the interest. This means the government takes their portion of it twice. Income tax is paid when you pay it back, and then it's paid again when you go to retire. Not a good way to go, guys. Not a good way to go. An IRA is an individual retirement account. This is kind of like the acronym says, where a 401k can only be offered through an employer plan. An IRA can be opened by any individual, whether it's associated with an employer or not. That means they're the best option for independent contractors, self-employed people, anyone who wants to do some extra retirement planning on top of their 401k can do an IRA. The traditional IRA has the same contribution limits as the Roth, which is around $6,000 a year, $7,000 if you're over 50. Generally, early withdrawal from an individual retirement account, just like your 401k, where you have to wait until you're 59 and a half. Otherwise, you're going to be facing a 10% penalty for early withdrawal. There are exceptions to that 10% early withdrawal penalty, such as using your IRA funds to pay for medical expenses due to job loss. But you need to research this with whoever provided you with your IRA or 401k to make sure that there's different stipulations in that plan. The Roth IRA versus the IRA is a Roth IRA is a type of individual retirement account similar to the traditional IRA in many ways, but with some significant differences. One of the main differences is how the tax break, how tax breaks are different. With the traditional IRA, the money you put in isn't taxed. With the Roth IRA, the money you take out is tax-free. Roth IRAs also have no requirements on when the money must be taken. So they can be a good tool to pass along wealth to beneficiaries, even if you find you don't need the money, especially if you find you don't need the money in retirement. So Roth IRAs are only available to people making less than $139,000 a year. I'll say that again, less than $139,000 a year as an individual, and $206,000 for married couples. They have contribution limits though too, $6,000 a year or $7,000 if you're over 50. Much like some of the other plans out there. Unlike 401ks and traditional IRAs, though, there's no penalty for withdrawing part of your contribution early. CalSavers program. I don't know, some people have heard of this, some people haven't. This was California's way of finding, people that maybe work for small companies, small businesses that don't have a retirement plan, and they wanted some way to save for their retirement future. So California created the CalSavers plan. It was created in 2016, and it was designed for millions of Californians who lack a way to save for retirement. So this is an automatic enrollment for individuals. So it's an individual retirement account. Has no employer fees. How does it work? Well, workers would actually have 2 to 5% of their pay automatically deducted out of their account or out of their paychecks and put into these accounts, unless you decide to opt out. And that will be definitely one of the questions they ask you if you're presented with one of these programs. A health savings account, HSA, is a handy way to save for medical expenses and reduce your taxable income. Some employers that offer high deductible health plans also offer HSAs, and you can open a separate HSA as long as you have a qualified plan. Each year, you decide how much money to contribute to your HSA, though you cannot exceed the government mandated maximums. Okay. Contribution limit individual is $3,550, family of $7,100. The money is not taxed in your HSA. investment potentials for HSA. If it's another benefit, it can be invested in mutual funds, can be invested in stocks, or other types of investment tools. To maximize your savings, this is one way to take full advantage of it. Build a reserve for your future. It's suggested that you maximize your contributions as set forth by the IRS, which is about $3,550, as I said, as an individual, or $7,100. This is good tax advantages, guys. It's a great way to maybe change to a high deductible health plan, which would then cost you less monthly. And always knowing that you're building this nest egg over here for future health expenses, and then it can be used for other things if for some reason you don't need it for those health emergencies later on in life. So let's reiterate why it's important not only to plan for retirement, but to do it early. With almost non-existent pensions, Social Security income, which covers only about 40% right now and probably going to drop to 30% around 2035, your only reliable source of retirement income is going to be your savings. And as you already know, once you hit 65, your odds of living for another decade or two are pretty quite high, especially if you're taking care of yourself. The average age at retirement is 62. 55% of retirees like to retire early enough to where, and they retire earlier. Unfortunately, 55% of retirees have retired earlier due to health concerns or possible job loss. 56% have anxiety over their future. And to put it bluntly, guys, my generation, the baby boomer generation, it has been said that we're more concerned about running out of money in retirement than we are about dying. Particularly women should pay close attention to the retirement planning as early as possible. Today, women are 27% more likely to have no retirement savings. Unfortunately, the median retirement savings for women is only $23,000 compared to $76,000 for men. Fortunately, there is a way not to worry constantly about your financial future. We can do a set it and forget it and then enjoy life to the fullest. The earlier you will start planning for your future retirement, the less money you will need to invest, since you have the power of compounding interest to work for you. So if you have a solid plan, adequate amount of time to let it work, risk of some circumstances which can lead you to financial hardship, a decreased standard of living, or a return to workforce and part-time employment will be pretty low. Besides, you will be in better health without fears of becoming a burden to your kids or forced into early retirement with low financial support. This concludes today's lesson, guys. It's been my pleasure to be with you. Education is the passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for today. I certainly believe that knowledge is power, but knowledge is not, it only becomes powerful when you apply it. So please take the information that we're sharing with you through these lesson plans, put it into action. So thank you again. I can't wait till I retire so I can drive around slowly and drive people crazy. What a way to go. It's been my pleasure to be with you guys this evening. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Have a safe and happy day. Get out there and put the lessons that we've offered you into action and make a better life for yourself. Take care, everyone.